All right, thanks everyone for joining us today on KRTD News. As you can see, it's second Friday, but Madeline's not here. Well, she's not here today. She'll be back, I think by next second Friday. But here with us, we have Barry Bender, who's going to be filling in for her today.
Good
Um,
evening, everybody.
you guys may remember him from the anti-corruption panel about 3 months ago. So, let's get into our stories here. So the first one we have here is free hashtag free Mitney. Best I can do is Bill Cosby. So let's go ahead to the next slide. So longtime Britney Spears fans are demanding to free Britney. It's not just Britney Spears fans; it's people who actually. It's also everybody who sees what's clearly going on there.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Um,
It's a pretty sad story.
it is. Her father is basically um, controlling every aspect of her money, and everything, and he's making all the major decisions. Um, there's all kinds of crazy things going on there. But do we have anything else on this here? Okay. So in the second hearing in 2019, Jamie asked to be temporarily removed as her conservator. The role was temporarily appointed to Britney Spears' care manager. In August, Britney Spears asked the court for the removal of her father as the conservator of her estate. Instead, the judge extended the conservator father through February 1st, 2021. Well, on February 5th, the New York Times released a Hulu documentary titled Framing Britney Spears, highlights the star's conservatorship and court battle with her father received widespread attention, reigniting the hashtag Free Britney movement. Britney Spears said on Wednesday, and this is Wednesday relative to June 24th, the people who control her affairs had refused to allow her to get her IUD removed so she could try to have a third child. As I want to be able to get married and have a baby, Spears said at a court hearing. So, Barry, what do you think?
What I think is, that to first of all to give her father the conservatorship to begin with. This is one of the two people who put her in the spotlight as a young child and basically created, as far as I'm concerned, the environment that led to where she became, and for a court to make him responsible for all of her affairs, to me is almost like negligence as far as I'm concerned. They've taken away all her civil rights completely, all her rights, including her own health care, which to me is extremely questionable, especially putting it in the hands of whom they put it in the hands of. I mean, that's just craziness as far as I'm concerned.
And then one thing, think what else the father gets out of this. He gets likely. I'm assuming she made a lot of money while she was doing the music that she was in. I'm certain the father now gets access to those bank accounts, and who knows what he's doing with it.
Full control.
Hmm.
Full control. Yeah.
So here's what you get. It's basically like a parent stealing from their child and controlling every aspect of their life. It's very sickening.
Which is probably what went on when she was a minor, and now they've kind of relegated her back to the status of a minor by doing what they've done.
Exactly. So when she was a
Think about
minor,
it.
yeah, very likely the father had full control over her when she was a minor. He was able, and the money likely went to him when she was a minor. This all, for all we know, might just be about the money that she made that her father wants to control. It may not even be about her.
Well, and
But I
for
feel it's irresponsible of the court to let that happen. As far
Oh,
as
I
I'm
mean
absolutely.
my
But
father been in mental health counseling for a long time, right? And
mm,
conservatorship is a pretty common thing, but usually it's suggested to get a third party, to not have friends and family involved in that, right? But to hire someone whose sole job it is to do that sort of thing. Now, I think that they, when was it they went and uh, they gave it to her care manager,
just
right?
right in 2019.
Yeah, so I don't know if that counts as that, in my opinion, because I don't know what else her care manager does for her and how connected he is to whoever, but that's called in question when Jamie and them are still able to make decisions for her, right? To some degree. So obviously there's essentially you're giving up your own consent in when you do this, right? Anything that now it's they have legal action over you, they have medical action over you, they see your medical records, right? And they essentially, because for a lot of people who don't have the mental wherewithal to be able to give their own consent, a lot of times don't give that, and you're trying to get a schizophrenic their dose of lithium that day. Well, whatever it is, and they don't want to take it.
Mhm.
It turns into, well, it's the classic, well, if they don't want help, we can't give it. And until people go through that process of hitting rock bottom and getting to the point where someone is given their is made their conservator, right? You're stuck in this while they're not getting help sort of situation, right? So I don't know. This case is I mean, she's able to be mentally stable enough to make how much money?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It looks like they
Absolutely.
need someone not involved with her business at all. Right? That's part of
Exactly.
it.
Now, what we got? Everyone's like hashtag free Britney. As you can see, what we actually got
Is
was
old
Bill Cosby.
Bill Cosby.
And he's now planning
a comedy tour.
comedy comeback
Yeah.
tour. What is wrong with him?
Well, I mean, how else is he gonna make money, right? I mean, his pudding pop, stand probably not gonna get him much anymore, But
Mm-hmm. Do you have anything else on Cosby?
So
Newly freed from prison,
newly
Bill
freed
Cosby.
from prison, Bill Cosby may be planning a stand-up comedy tour, according to a spokesperson. Andrew Wyatt told the Philadelphia Inquirer on Thursday that Cosby, age 83, has been talking to a number of promoters and comedy club owners and is just excited the way the world is welcoming him back.
Mm-hmm. Now,
So
I'm assuming this was a loophole. Everybody, I don't know. Do we have anything on the loophole here?
Yeah, I think so. So Supreme
Here we
Court
go.
overturned his
So,
sexual assault conviction due to a non-prosecution agreement. He struck with a previous prosecutor should have prevented him from being charged over his 2004 encounter with accuser Andrea Constan. Right? So, he's getting off
he's not on a technicality.
on a technicality for one accuser, right?
Right.
He has 22 others.
He has 22
Don't forget
others.
that.
So I don't know necessarily how that gets him off the hook, or if they, I think some of them were also previous, like I don't know. I don't know how many people are involved there, right? With previous legal battles, because if it's the same thing where he's had them sign off that they're okay with this because he gave them some money, which I think is what happened with Constan.
Oh yeah.
How many counts does he get to take off, right? I mean, obviously, I still think there's probably going to have to be relitigated, but I don't know. So, but anyway, it's unclear.
Oh, here we go.
It's unclear when Cosby could return to performing, but Wyatt told Inside Edition that comedy club owners have called and people want to see him. What I want to know is how much material can you get in prison? I don't know if Cosby's clean takes go well with prison stories. I don't know if that happens, So, it's going to be weird. I mean, I think there's
who actually wants to see him.
Yeah, who's going to go to that? Who is going to go to that?
You're going to get the few people who believed he was innocent the whole time and think this is a conspiracy.
Yeah.
And there's a group like that, and they will show up to see him. But will that be enough for ticket sales? Will that be enough to keep him in demand? I don't know about that.
And does he really need the money? I mean,
No,
think about
not
how
really.
long. Think about how long he's been performing.
And the show's been syndicated. Is he not getting royalties from the show? going.
If he's not, I don't know how that works.
I mean, he's got to
His
have
name is all over the show.
a bunch of money there, right? So,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, I don't know.
Why he would have to do this, I don't know.
I don't get it either. I think he's probably trying to. You know, there was two things that I was hearing about the case once he was in jail, right? And you know, the thing was as well, probation means he has to accept some responsibility, right? So if he was going to try to get out on bail, you know, on good behavior and whatever, he has to show remorse, right? And you know, that's part of what those probation trials are about, is trying to figure out where this person's brain is at. Are they going to be a repeat offender? That sort of thing, right? So, from what people had said then was that Bill Cosby was not willing to do that, right? So, I mean, he's lucky that there's this one little technicality that means he gets to walk out of jail with a get out of free card, right? And, you know, he gets to go past go and collect $200, right? So,
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I can't imagine he's not going on television again, right? That
I mean, you
mainstream
never know.
media
Maybe for some
wouldn't.
interviews.
I mean, if what's his name, Tubin, can go back on after he was pulling his Tubin, you know, he's back on stuff now. So I don't know if Cosby gets to, you know, redo things and whatever. But I just
You're gonna find. I think that we're gonna see. Actually, I think it's very possible that. Well, the thing is, people don't just disappear. You got all kinds of crazy celebrities. I mean, I think a couple years ago, what's that guy? Fucking that singer, Ted Nugent, the kind of crazy guy. I see him endorsing politicians all the time and talking politics and going on the news. Like the celebrities don't go away, no matter
Yeah.
what.
Yeah, but he
happens to
never
them.
went to jail.
no.
No,
I don't. Did Ted
No,
Nugent go to jail?
Cosby
I don't think
got
so.
convicted, and you know got
Cosby
put
got
in
convicted,
like
but-
like that's the thing, is that they're not denying that he did these things. That's the big takeaway, right? Is that they're not able
Right.
to deny it. They're having to say, look, we already
No.
litigated, right? I don't know.
he
I'm
can
not a
continue
lawyer.
to walk around with no
It's morals.
responsibility.
It's
and he
morals
will.
and principles here that's being questioned. You know.
Yeah.
Would I want to go back on, for our argument's sake, if I had a TV show and I was convicted of what he was convicted of, would I
Yeah.
want to go back on and have my
No.
face in front of the public after I was
No.
convicted? That's what I don't understand. It's like a whole different set of morals.
Yeah,
Well,
he's
the
gonna
thing
have to
is,
go.
he
All right.
doesn't-
Has anyone ever seen Bill Cosby deal with a heckler? He deals with them like they're Theo on the show. You're not going to be able to Theo someone when they're accusing you of pretty terrible. Like your moral standing now is gone, right? And that was part of
Yes.
his whole shtick, was that he was so morally capable.
Family,
Yeah,
family. His shows were all about family.
right? Yeah, and you know, like I love his material. I mean, I grew up with it. Like, I grew up with the show. I grew up with, you know, listening to him talk about, you know, chocolate cake for breakfast. It's all great. His story's great. He's a good comedian. His timing's good, right? You know, it's him as a person that is terrible. You know, so
No, absolutely. You're gonna get the guy, and I tell you this off screen. You're gonna get somebody who shows up and throws Jello pudding at him.
you're gonna get the worst hecklers ever to a Bill Cosby.
Oh yeah.
That has to be anyone who's buying tickets is just gonna bring tomatoes, right? I mean, I
Tomato-
imagine.
I got Jello pudding.
Yeah, dude.
But and again, along the same lines. Okay, in the beginning of the story, it says he's 83 years old. How long do you want to perform?
Yeah. Well, and this also,
You
this
know?
story goes to
Yeah.
show, like, the difference, you know, the two-sided justice system, right? You know, if you've got money, you can get away with rape, murder, you know, whatever, right? You know, but if you're poor, black, brown, or some other color than that police officer particularly likes that day, right? You're, you know, like, how many people are in lifetime sentences for non-violent drug, you know, drug cases, and they're
Yeah,
looking
the
at
other thing is
Cosby
people
walking
forget.
out? Like,
Yeah.
People
What are
forget
we doing?
it's not just about color. it's about money. If you
Yeah,
have money,
That's
they'll be like, "Oh, you know what? We can't be racist towards him. He's got $5 million
now
in the bank
now
or whatever it is."
what if Cosby goes around and does a prison tour? I mean, that would be the thing to do for him, right? At least they're all also rapists, murderers, and
like
whatever.
Johnny Cash,
Yeah, like yeah, go. I mean, at least
except he
that's a
never went to
plan.
prison either.
Sure, right? But at least
Yeah.
Cosby
Yeah.
was there and could do prison jokes or whatever, right? But
Yeah.
again,
Absolutely.
you're I don't know, man. I don't know what they're. This has got to be just them, trying to see what market is
To me,
here.
it's almost like an in-your-face kind of thing, like,
Yeah, yeah,
hey,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know
Hey,
what?
I'm out. I'm gonna
I'm
do
back.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's definitely
Yeah.
like, look, he had
Well,
loyal people in that endeavor, as well, right? He
and he
had
never
people that.
admitted he did it.
No, I mean
He's
I'm trying to
refused.
remember.
Has this attitude.
Well,
Like
he's had the.
this.
There's definitely he did some stuff.
He did, but he doesn't want to admit it. He wants to go through life, even though we all know what happened,
Right.
pretending like it never happened. And
Yeah.
if this continue to be this moral character, but he can no longer do that. And
Yeah.
he just got to understand that.
Well,
It's an alternate reality.
it's
Yeah.
definitely a tough. I don't know. I just find it funny. He's got the balls to go out and do another show, right? Like, what are you doing, man? Just sit at home, dude. Do a podcast, something, Anyway, what's our next? We still.
So
This story. Go ahead, Shane.
This from the Independent. So, which one is this? The world's largest. Oh yes. So where they're now trying a 4-day work week in Iceland. And it's had overwhelming success. And now they're even talking about the world's largest ever trial, reduced time in Iceland. The overwhelming success should be tested in the UK research. More than 1% of Iceland's population took part in the pilot program, which cut the working week to 35 to 36 hours, no reduction in overall pay. Now, what I just heard recently, I don't know if we have a slide on this because I just heard this today, that now they want to do this for 80% of Iceland's workforce because it was so effective, and give everybody the option to opt into that, to make the same amount.
So this
And
is more
everybody
than one.
forgets. Yeah.
1% of Iceland working population took part in it, right? Which cut the working week to 35 to 36 hours. Does anyone know the average American work week?
I think it's 40 hours or 45.
Hey Google.
46.
What's the average American work week?
34.4 hours
Something
per
went
week.
wrong. Please
On
try
the
again.
website,
Like Google's answer.
thebeverage.com, they say.
I probably
I think
just made
it's
everyone's
44.4 hours per week.
44.4 hours. Hey Google, stop.
Yeah, so about, let's say 45 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's if you're an hourly or employee.
Hourly
if you're a salaried
employee.
employee, it's a hell of a lot different.
it's a hell of a lot different, right? That's people who are
Yeah.
who are setting their hours as this, right? But it goes on to say that research estimated the result of new agreements struck in 2019 through 2021 after the trials were over, 86% of Iceland's entire working population now either have reduced hours or flexibility within their contracts to reduce hours, right? This was carried out by think tanks Autonomy in the UK and Association for Sustainability and Democracy, ALDA, in Iceland, found that the well-being of workers who took part improved dramatically across a range of indicators. Perceived stress and burnout, as well as health and work-life balance, were significantly improved across particularly all groups.
So this just means they're more effective, they're more well-rested,
Yep.
they're better off like this. You don't
And
have
this
to
is-
work 5 days a
This
week.
is on top of, let's not forget, that Iceland also has paid time off, right? They have to have so much vacation time, right? Like they're required to take it, right? They have to. They also have. I don't know if you've heard of these kind of plans, but a Medicare for all kind of system, right? They tend to have a healthcare system, right? They also have housing and I don't know if Iceland's went the way of UBI yet as well. They may have been testing it. I don't remember. Those Scandi country
It was
policies
another
tend
Nordic
to.
country, I think.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
one of those.
Scandi.
But
Yeah, I think it's a Nordic one, but yeah.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, like, on top of all this, they also want to make sure that their people have, you know, decent work hours on top of that, right? Like, I would be, if I had to work every day and got those other things, I'd be like, yeah, okay. You know, they also have
And then the
paid
other thing is,
paternity and maternity leave, if I'm not mistaken.
yes.
They get like a year off,
Yeah, they have that.
right?
Hmm.
So, and that's paid.
Right, and now they want to extend this to 80% of the workforce.
Yeah.
Because, and I just saw that today, because this is so effective, and they're realizing, you know what? Our workers are well rested, and they're still productive. There's no reason why we can't do 4 days.
Yeah.
Now I get why it's 80%. Maybe there are some professions where you do need more days,
Right.
in particular,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, so you don't count those in. But
Well, and
they probably still get all the other stuff.
the thing for me about it is, for one, from a business standpoint, right? You're looking at, okay, if you have people working less on their shift, right? You have to hire someone else to cover the other days, right? If you're going to do that 24-hour, right, 7 days a week cycle, those are, you know, 3 or 4 shifts, right? Those are, you know, definitely multiple crews, right, to do those things. And depending on how you operate as a business, that may not be easy, right? But it just means more jobs for people, right? Now,
and people forget, during the New Deal era, we almost had this.
Yeah.
And it passed the House. And then a last-minute compromise was made in the Senate, and they took it away from us.
Now, there was one thing that they definitely said, with no reduction in overall pay. So that means they were paid the same for less hours, right? You know, and I think that that's the big factor here, right? Of, you know, the argument that would be used against it, well, people are not going to have the same pay, they're not going to have whatever, and that we can't afford that, right? But when you look at you know, the next, stress and burnout, as well as health and work life, you know, I think somewhere in that article it said that they had seen, you know, an uptick in production from it, right? So that means that
some of the studies say it's the same, and some say it's better.
Yeah, so, you know, I mean, if it's not worse, why haven't we decided to implement that yet, you know? Like,
you know, you had Republicans about 50 years ago, or not 50, like in the New Deal era, also saying they wanted to reduce the work week and they want paid vacations. You had Republicans and even saying that.
Well, I remember some
ago.
study, I don't know, I think it was not in Iceland, I think it was in Sweden, right? That had gone through and tried to figure out the ideal work week, and they said like 3 days. You work 3 days, you get the rest of the week off, and you go back to work and do the next 3. But they were saying, like, this is perfection, as far as, like, you know, it's about as much as people can take of it, right? It's like, before they start seeing detriments to their health just because they're stressed out, trying to get a job done, whatever. And granted, you know, that kind of work week isn't for everyone, but it's you should have the choice, not the other way should be forced upon you, right? But I don't know.
Barry, what do you think?
They what I didn't catch in there is like, for here in the United States, our work week is Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
And then normally Saturday and Sunday, you know,
weekend
would be your days off.
Thank you,
Are they
unions.
flexible on the days, the 3 days that people have off? I'm wondering.
I would imagine so.
That's a good question.
Have reduced hours or flexibility within their contracts to reduce hours. But yeah, I mean, I'm betting they do. I'm betting they already have systems in place to do that, right? You know, if you get hired on, you're probably told
that would take care of coverage.
Yeah,
yeah, that would take care of coverage. And really, if you take it, you know, if you calculate it out, that's 4 9-hour days to get 36 hours.
Yeah,
and I know many days. Well, I'm a salaried employee,
right?
So it doesn't really, you know,
affect you quite the same, right?
But there's a 9-hour day would make me real happy.
Yeah, make a bunch of people real happy. And I
Yeah.
think that the more we're looking at more automation and less actual workers needing to be there to do the things we need to. They're even trying to get smart people out of jobs by using AI and stuff like that. So, I
And then
think,
we also have this new great thing called Zoom, where people can do work remotely.
well, that's the other thing too,
Well, that's
right?
that's what I've been doing since last March, just to let you know.
Yeah, and you're dreading
Mhm.
going back, right? You're like, oh, I kind of wish that it could stay
Not
this
really,
way.
because I've been sitting with two cats for 16 months and not seeing any people.
Well,
So
at least
I'm
at
kind of
least those
looking
cats
forward.
aren't human children like some of people we know, that you're stuck in there
So
dealing with
here's
those
another.
things.
Yeah.
But
Let's relate this to KRTD for a second. How many people actually go into the office at KRTD?
yeah, zero. We have no office. We're doing everything remotely. We're doing,
Exactly.
and
And
there's
how
definitely,
effective are we in getting things done on time?
well, I mean,
Would you
we're
say?
we're pretty good,
Hmm.
So I mean, I think we manage, right? But
Exactly.
you look at productivity. I think in some of those fields have gone up, right? Because people are able
Exactly.
to work from home
Absolutely.
and have a better environment to do those things. I think going forward through this pandemic, the pandemic has definitely changed how people
Improving.
um,
Yep.
view the workplace significantly, right?
Yep. Yep.
And
And
everybody else is behind. The tech industry has
generally,
been doing it. I know people in the tech industry. They were working remotely 10 years ago.
yeah. But now you realize how many places you can work remotely, right? And I think it's one of those things where if they try to go back to the way it was without those options, people are not going to be happy about it, right? People will probably quit their jobs, a few of them, if that's not available. They'll find another job that has that available, right?
And it's
Just
even
because it's
shown that
easier.
schools can be done remotely.
Yeah. So, I mean, it just gives you
School,
more. There was
work.
a thing. There's a thing that was brought up on I might have been Convo Couch, might have been Hinkle. I don't know where. I'll try to find it and put it on my Twitter or whatever. But about these people reacting to this lady who was definitely in the boomer generation for sure, right? Talking about how it's really important to commute to work, right? You know that it's just not human if you don't commute to work and whatever and go get your Starbucks coffee cup and do this and listen to your podcast. It's like, lady, I could do all of those things from my house. I could have Starbucks delivered. I could listen to my podcast while I'm working, right? Because no one can tell me different because the boss isn't here. I'm getting the work done more efficiently. How about you just sit down and go? There's this stigma that the older generation has for doing things digitally. Now, granted, it doesn't give you the
Listen,
same.
we can do both.
Yeah, you could do both. Like we're sitting here having a conversation. We could do this every day of the week, right? We can sit here. You could pour yourself a martini, right? And pretty much enjoy your time just like you would with any other group meeting with friends, right? We're generally able to have a meeting just like
Exactly.
we were in a conference room, right? And
Hmm.
like
How
it's
many
just.
meetings have we had remotely that go fine?
Yeah, I mean, just because I'm in the same room and can smell your farts doesn't make it better. You know? Like, it just
It
doesn't.
doesn't. I get sometimes you want to do. Sometimes you want to do an in-person meeting, but it's not
Yeah.
always practical.
It's
If
not always
if you need
practical, and
to,
it's not. Yeah, it's
for
just.
example, if I want to meet with somebody who lives in another state, are we gonna meet at the coffee shop? Like,
Yeah.
no.
No.
They're gonna have to fly in. Why not just do it over Zoom?
Well, and that's
Well,
the
the
thing.
team that I work with, where I work, we have people scattered all over the country
Country.
and
Right.
overseas.
Yeah.
So when we have meetings, even when I was in the office, we do it through Skype, Zoom, etc. Okay, because you're not going to get all these people together for meetings once a week when they're in, India and Texas and North Carolina and etc. And I'm in New Jersey. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think what you're going to find as a result of COVID also is you're going to see companies going that way doing everything, online and
Yeah.
saving money on facilities because they won't need offices. People will have their own offices and they'll work from those offices and that'll be it. And the
Right.
money the companies save could be used for better purposes. I think you're going to see that coming.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, hey, Rick, didn't we have? There's no limit. We can have a meeting on Zoom. We have with over 40 people, and
Yeah. I mean,
you could absolutely do that.
I mean, you could run a whole business from Zoom, depending on, as long as you've got, um, I mean, as long as you've got everyone with the stations they need at home, you generally can do whatever. You start getting into logistics problems if you're actually making product, but generally it feels
Exactly.
like, and this is going, look, teaching, how many people are now more comfortable with online teaching at a level that's, I mean, colleges have even started
Exactly.
pushing more into online stuff, and I think you're seeing that stigma of doing stuff digitally start to go away, right?
Exactly. And
So
I think, yeah, there may be some places where it doesn't make sense. For example, factory work. You can't do factory work remotely. You need the tools in the factory.
yeah.
But when it comes to teaching, when it comes to what we're doing with media, when it comes to financial stuff, you can easily tech stuff. You can do all of that remotely.
Well, and like,
It just really depends on
how's the traffic been in New York, Shane? Recently, through the pandemic.
traffic.
Yeah,
Through the pandemic, there's been a lot less traffic,
a
even
lot
in
less
Manhattan.
traffic, right? New Jersey,
Yep.
same way, right?
Yep. I can't tell you how much money I've saved in the last year and 3 months,
because you
4
haven't had
months
to
on
like
on
put
gas.
gas in your car. Yep, and
Yep.
you
Yep.
probably haven't even. I mean, the subway's a whole nother problem. I was gonna grab that stuff this week too. Did you see that, Shane? The subways are flooded,
What?
right? There
Yeah,
there was like,
that was from the rain.
that was from the
That was
rain.
from the rain.
So there was one of the
Yes.
subway, like, where people had to like walk through like 6 foot of water to get to the L train, and it's like I'm hoping they turned off the third rail before people walked in there, because I don't know how electricity carries through water, but probably better than nothing. So but I don't know. It just is like failing infrastructure everywhere. Climate disaster after climate disaster. I mean, how long before you guys get another Sandy roll through? You know, hurricane season
Jeez.
starting. So
Knocking on wood.
yeah, we saw that we're seeing
Exactly.
ease now in like June, July. We're into the ease. So I mean, down here in Florida, I'll give you a warning before one gets to you. But you know, for me, I'm like right in
There
the
you go.
armpit, man. It's
Yeah. Yep.
things come straight my way. So, but anyway, we're
Let's
what's
see
our
what other
next?
stories we got
Oh yeah,
here.
this Haiti thing.
So
I'll let
this is,
I'll let Barry go through some of this. And
yeah, Barry, why don't you go ahead with this? And then we
Yeah.
have a timeline when you're done.
I know things. Well, here's the line. In 1804, Haiti became the first formally enslaved Black republic. Was occupied. The U.S. has been involved in Haiti for forever, but 1915 to 1934, occupied by the Marines. You had a ruler from 57 to 71. Uh, Duvalier ruled 71 to 86. I mean, you go through them, it's almost, very, very non-democratic. You don't hear about elections. Um, the
Hmm.
earthquake in 2010, we all remember that one. I mean, and this is an
Oh,
extremely, extremely poor country. Okay. Um, the president who was just assassinated was supposed to be down. His term was up February 7th, 2021, and he refused to step down, and that was supported by us here in the United States, the Biden administration. As far as what happened the other day, there's all kinds of strange stories um, coming out of Haiti. It sounds like a team of mercenaries came in and did a hit, is what it sounds like. But if you look at the stories, um, what they say, 26 of the people
hmm.
who were involved or that they arrested were former Colombian military, is what I read.
Yeah,
Uh,
I heard
two
about that.
two U.S. citizens. To me, and for argument's sake, things are not great in Haiti. The people are really in horrible situations. Okay, the president was no angel. He
Mhm.
didn't make things any better for the people. But for argument's sake, if this assassination came from the people, you would see it in a different way as far as I'm concerned. You'd see people rioting in the streets, et cetera, whatever. And this guy would probably have taken off to another country if things got really bad. This, as far as I'm concerned, is coming from some other outside source other than the people of Haiti. Okay. And I maybe someday eventually we'll know where it came from. I don't know if that's going to happen, but
Also, this timeline was provided by Madeline for a story we did about 3 months ago.
got it. Yep. Yeah.
So,
He refused to step down, and the United States supports that. So wait a minute, when we start screaming and yelling about what went on in this country on January 6th, uh, to support that is kind of hypocritical. One would think, wouldn't one?
well, that's Biden supporting that. So,
Yeah, yeah.
well,
That's
he's a
what I'm
professional hypocrite. He's a politician.
saying. Okay, I'll go through the elected in 2015 in a disputed election whose resolution delayed his inauguration by a year. I didn't realize that. He faced mass protests during nearly all of his tenure as president. But yeah, attended a couple of them in Newark over the last year about what was going on in Haiti. Um, he has ruled by decree since January 2020. Yeah, when he allowed Parliament to mandate to expire without holding new election. And in February 21, he continued to remain in power despite the country's highest court ruling his term to be over. Yeah, and those were the protests that we had in Newark. It was over him refusing to step down and the U.S. backing his claim to power, which I thought democracy was the will of the people, but maybe
Well,
there's
I'm
a
sure we
small
got something
definition
out
that
of
I'm missing. What's that?
him. I'm sure we got something out of him being in power. We
Oh,
always
I
do.
have no doubt. I have no doubt. And I would not be overly well. I don't see a direct intervention by the United States, but it would be interesting to know. There has to be some other issue that we're missing that would cause this assassination. I don't believe for a second that this assassination came from the people. I really do not believe it. Okay,
Mhm.
what do we got? Later Wednesday in a televised broadcast to the nation, Mr. Joseph is the former prime minister, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, presented himself as head of the government and announced that he and his fellow ministers had declared a state of siege. Mr. Joseph called for calm. A quote from Mr. Joseph: "Let's search for harmony to advance together so the country doesn't fall into chaos," he said. Well, as far as I'm concerned, it wasn't far from chaos before for most of the people. Anyway, the news of Mr. Moises' assassination rocked the Caribbean nation 675 miles southeast of Miami, but had already been in turmoil, as I mentioned. Now, the political vacuum left by Mr. Moises' killing could fuel a cycle of violence, experts warn. But this uh, former prime minister has stepped in and said, as someone said once, I'm in charge in the White House, as when Ronald Reagan was shot, if you remember those days. Anyway,
Mhm.
the local Haitian newspaper, I can't do French, La Nouvelliste, citing a local justice of the peace, reported that President Moises' body had been riddled with 12 bullets. I had heard that too. And two of his children had been home during the attack. His wife also, did they mention that his wife also, supposedly she was hit 3 times? After more than 4 years in office, he was gunned down in his home early Wednesday at the age of 53. He left a wife and 3 children. In his last year in office, as protests grew and he declined to step down, he had to defend himself in other ways. I am not a dictator, he told the Times in February. But yeah, his wife also was hit 3 times, but it looks like she's going to survive,
That's
from what I've seen.
Now, if we could just get to a democracy in Haiti or something where the people have a little bit more say.
But but one would think that the United States, and they like to talk about, oh, we send our troops overseas to support democracy. Well, what are we supporting in Haiti when it's not a democracy?
And then when we do support democracy and we don't like the result of the election, for example, Iraq, we make sure, and I think it was one of the same leaders who got elected, who was their leader before. I think that's what that was, right?
Hmm.
Or whoever it was, and they said, "Yeah, we're gonna distribute the oil money to the people and this and that." They're like, "Oh no, 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 no!
Yeah, I mean, we,
We
we won't
can't have
even
that."
we wouldn't even help when they have a hurricane, destroy their little island down there, So,
You're
Hmm.
talking
you
about
know,
Haiti, yeah.
I remember
Yeah,
Anthony
yeah.
Anthony Bourdain had went down there when that was going on,
Hmm.
right? And I'm pretty sure it was Haiti, but he had like bought food for like everyone there, and it just turned into like almost a riot because he was buying food for people, and everyone was just trying to get any scrap they could, and he was like, this got way out of hand, and he just felt bad that it's like no one's helping these people, like they clearly need help, and we just decide not to care. It's only when it affects our political motives, or you know
Or the corporations that we
right, or if
support.
there's resources that are there that we need,
Yeah.
or cheap
Hmm.
labor or whatever. That's what we care about, apparently, as America, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this sounds like CIA stuff from a mile away, you know I mean, they learned their lesson
Yeah.
from Bay of Pigs, They definitely know how to do stuff a little better these days. So, um,
Anyway,
it's
let's
just
go on to the next.
let me see what else we got. I think
There's
that's
the
it.
26 Colombians, as we mentioned.
Yeah, the and then
All
and that
right.
there's two Americans linked to Moise's assassination, which, I mean, granted,
So
that's
this might
not
also just be us.
sure.
It's very possible this leader was not going to do what we
No,
wanted him to do for
what do
whatever
we get out
thing.
of it, right? Joe Biden likes this other guy, right? Why is that? Why does he like Joseph, or was it the other way around?
He liked Moises.
Moises.
He liked him. He was supporting him in office after his term was supposed to end. He
Yeah,
was supported by Biden.
right.
But maybe he did something, It's the old question, whose toes have you stepped on recently,
And then the
maybe?
other
Who
thing is,
knows?
it's Colombian troops also. This is very possible. The U.S. plus Colombia. This is just pure speculation. But the Colombian leader is also not supposed to be the U.S. plus Colombia doing something they're not supposed to be doing, and intervening with another country because maybe this guy was going to do something that they collectively didn't like.
Yeah, I mean,
I
it
don't know.
might it
This
might
is
make it
speculation.
it might make it harder to ship the lithium out of South America if we don't have ports in the Caribbean, right? It's that kind of stuff, right? Where it's we're still only worried about draining the world of resources so that we can make a little bit of money somewhere, right? But yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Absolutely.
there tends to not be nice news anymore. So luckily, those
Yeah.
Scandinavian countries are still trying to better their people while the world's burning. Um, but yeah, I know you have to go pretty soon. It's what,
Yeah.
6:47.
Uh,
We went through all our
Six forty
stories,
seven. We're gonna. Yeah, we got
so
through all of our stories pretty early this time, so we're gonna end early today, guys.
yep.
Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Appreciate it.
That was the man behind the camera, Brief,
Yep. As
interjecting in the
always, sneaking
conversation
in.
today.
thanks for having me on, guys.
No
Thanks for
problem,
having me
man.
on. Interesting
Anytime.
stuff we talked about tonight.
Of
Um,
Yep.
course.
like and
All right.
subscribe. Go hit those social medias, please. Hit that bell. You know how it goes.
All right.
But yeah,
Thanks,
otherwise, have a
guys.
good day. Peace, love, and soul.
Bye.
KRTD out. And grab the ending. Ooh, I should have had that ready. And you're out.
Conservatorship.